Good morning to everybody here in Avashalom, everybody in Torah Anytime, Kol Halashon, and in our YouTube channel. We are continuing Maseches Bava Metzia, learning the halachas of the Dalit Shomrim, the four Shomrim, the famous four Shomrim, Shomer Chinam, Shomer Socho, which is also Socher, and the Shoyel, and Shoyel. So basically, as we know, and we're just going to summarize before we continue, when it comes to Shoyel, yeah, so it says Mefurish in the Torah that on Oines, the Shoyel is Chayav in case of Oines. That's Mefurish in the Torah. What about Gneva Vaveda? Then he's also Chayav. How do we know that the Shoyel is Chayav Gneva Vaveda? We said that because we have the letter Vov. Vechi Yishal at the beginning of Shoyel, the V, that connects Shomer Socher and Shoyel for everything. Everything about Shoyel will learn to Shomer Socher and vice versa. And therefore, when you have halachas of, let's say, a Shomer Socher Chayav B'Gneva Vaveda, the middle row is Gneva Vaveda, automatically we know that applies to Shoyel. We also know that just like a Shoyel has a halacha of Be'olav Imoy, what's Be'olav Imoy? If the bailim of the cow, the bailim of the item that you borrow, it was lent together with the person did the malacha to you, meaning the owner of the object did some kind of work for you, the shoyel, then you're potter. I just didn't write it in the chart, not to make it too cumbersome. And therefore, just like with shoyel, you have the ptur of balavimoy, so too by the shomer socher, you have also the ptur balavimoy. So everything, there are three limudim altogether between shoyel and shomer socher based on the letter vav. Shomer Chinam so far is out of the question. Why? Shomer Chinam is potter moines, potter migneva vaveda, is only chayv b'pshia, right? The only thing Shomer Chinam is chayv is pshia. What about the other two? Says Rashi, we'll learn it from Kal V'chomer, as we'll see later on. If a Shomer Chinam that is definitely the more lenient one, yeah, the one that's always potter and is still chayv b'pshia, kol sheken that these two are also chayv b'pshia. That is what we said so far. That's a short summary. I also have a chart to basically share with you later on, a better chart. Now, Shomer Chinam is written, that's important to know, Shomer Chinam is the first parsha written in the Torah out of the three. Shomer Socher is the second, and Shoel is the third. Yeah, in the chronology of the Mishnah, the Chumash, Shomer Chinam is mentioned first, then Shomer Socher, then Shoel. Okay, so now the Gemara has a new question. Itmar, yeah, we have a question. Pshia bebailim. Oh, what would be the halacha regarding any of the shomrim? And we know that all shomrim are chayev bepshia. Yeah, all shomrim are chayev bepshia. What would be if the item was lent or given to shomer chinam or shomer socher, and the item was given while the bailim did some work for the person who's a shomer? Do we still apply the ptur of Be'olav Imoy, or don't we apply the ptur of Be'olav Imoy? That's a question. So, Baruch Hashem, Pligi bar Ravacha v'Ravina, Machlokes Ravacha v'Ravina, Machlokes Omeroim, Chad Omar Chayev, v'Chad Omar Potur. One of them we don't know who. Chad Omar means we don't know who said what, but we know that one of them said Chayev, meaning when it comes to Pshia, there is no reduction, there is no leniency here, no flexibility, and you chayiv even in Be'olav Imoy. The other one says, yes, the ptur of Be'olav Imoy applies. What's the reason? What's behind each opinion, each of the opinions? Manda chayev kasovar mika nidosh lefonov velo lifnei ponov, which means, remember we said that shoyel and shomer socher, the letter vov, v'chi yishal, yeah, there's a letter of vov, v'chi, right? That extra letter Vav, V'chi, that Vav connects Shoyel, which is Parsha Shlishis, with what's right before that. Yeah? Lefonov. We darshan the posuk of the Shoyel to the one before, V'loi lifnei ponov. Oh, meaning that ptur of Be'olav Imoy can only survive one traveling back, not two. Shomer Chinam already is disconnected from Shoyel. because the shoyel and shomer socher are close by. But shoyel and shomer chinam are opposites, are not opposite, are too far apart. Hilkach, and therefore, im be'olav imoy a shomer chinam lo iksiv. So when it comes to shomer chinam, yeah, we don't have a source for shomer chinam at all to say that be'olav imoy is a ptur. Now, and so now we know when it comes to, according to this opinion, when it comes to the chiyuv of shomer chinam, the pshia of shomer chinam, which is this, there is no ptur of be'olav imoy. Now, what about the other two? What about shomer socher and shoyel? They are more severe, but maybe there would be a ptur. Maybe you give them a reduction there. Says the Gemara, no. Upshia nami, the whole concept of pshia, the shomer socher b'shoyel lo iksiv. It's not written about shomer socher and shoyel. The concept of pshia is just never there. How do we know? How do we know that shomer socher and shoyel are chayiv b'pshia? We know it from Kal v'chomer. We know if shomer chinam is chayiv b'pshia, all the more so they are, because they're more chomer. Hilkach, therefore, the shomer socher b'shoyel lechiyuv asya b'kal v'chomer mishomer chinam. Right? How do we know that the you're chayiv on pshia in shomer socher and shoyel? But that extra special thing, the Vabailim, Tur Be'olav Imo, which is by the way written here, and we don't apply it over here, Be'olav Imo to pater in Be'olav Imo, Af B'Shomer Socher B'Shoyel Loi. No, we don't have any source there to tell me that you're pater. My timer, why is that? Kiksiv in Be'olav Imo Lo Yeshalim, when it says Be'olav Imo Lo Yeshalim, where is it written? Yeah, in other words, it's only written regarding the chiyuvim, the chtiv behu behedya. Only the chiyuvim that are written mefurash, are written outright. Hu de michtav, right? Which means we only know, we basically remain sourceless. We know about shoyel be'oines be'olav imoy, right? If there's be'olav imoy, he's potul. We made a whole balagan here yesterday with the word Vov, the letter Vov, to teach me. Shoyel in Gneva Vaveda and Shomer Socher, they're all the same. You always have the ptur of Be'olav Imoy. However, Shomer Chinam is out of the gang, he's out of the clan. He's a different story because the Vov only connects Shoyel and Shomer Socher. The Shomer Chinam, by him, his only chiyuv, which is a pshia. We don't have any source to tell me that it is potter be'olav imoy. So what about these two? Same thing. Because if you come mitzad kal v'chomer, then no. The source doesn't have the ptur, how they have the ptur. And if you come mitzad here that it says be'olav imoy, how do you know? Be'olav imoy is written in oines and also in gneva vaveda, but not in pshia. Therefore, according to this man the Omar, there's never ptur of be'olav imoy when it comes to pshia in any of the shomer. That's opinion number one. Man Domar Potu, the one who says that there is a ptur, the ptur of Be'olav Imoy does exist. What's his reason? Sova, he thinks, Mikra Nidosh Lefonov, Velifnei Ponov. When the Torah tells me the Vov, and by the way, Rashi calls it the Hekesh, when there is a Hekesh of the Vov to connect the Shoyel to previous Parsha, it's not just the closest previous Parsha, it's also two Parshas away. Two Parshas above is the same thing. Very good. And therefore, B'chiksiv im be'olav imoy, and it's really meaning a ptur, Hashem chinam namiksiv, the ptur of shoyel, of be'olav imoy, that's a source. That's a source of be'olav imoy, by oines, by shoyel. Yeah, in be'olav imoy, he doesn't have to pay. So we take it all the way to Shomer Chinam, and if Shomer Chinam, the ptur applies, the ptur also applies to them. Why? Because we say, just like he's potter, and he's the source for all other pshiyas of Shomer Socher and Shoyel, just like here it's potter, also here, it's really also potter. This is the other way. So it's a machlokes. We don't have the machlokes straight. We didn't find out, we didn't resolve the machlokes. So now we're trying to find out sources. Yeah, Tanan, we're trying to use our very own Mishnah. We so far saw one Mishnah in a parak, and we're trying to figure out from our Mishnah what's the halacha regarding pshia. Do we say Ba'alav Imoy in Pshia, or don't we say Ba'alav Imoy in Pshia? Before we continue, I just want you to realize it's a big chiddush. It's a big chiddush because at the end of the day, see what's going to happen here. A person may lend something to his friend, and the friend was negligent. The friend was negligent. He didn't mamish hit it, but he was negligent, and he's potu. If it's Ba'alav Imoy, even with complete negligence, it'd still be potu because of Xeras HaKosu. Unbelievable. So now, let's see from the Mishnah. No, there's no explanation. The explanation is no explanation that Lifnei Ponov. There's no real svara here. We said some svara once, but let's get into the Mishnah. I'm just saying how much of a chiddush it is. That's all. I wasn't saying anything long. I'm just saying it's impressive to see that even though it's complete pshia, he's still potter by Ba'alav Imoy. Tanan ashoel aporo v'shol be'aleo ima. That's our Mishnah. A person borrowed a cow, and he borrowed the owner together with it. I'm plowing with my cow. Please, if you don't mind, at the same time, you cow, come and plow with a cow, right? Or, as we know, lahalocha, while I'm moishech his cow, I'm asking him, make me a cup of tea. And he's making me a cup of tea. Absolutely irrelevant, but same thing. What happens then? Another case. You borrowed the cow, which means for free, and you hired the owner at the same time, meaning whether I pay the owner or not is regardless. That's what we're saying, irrelevant. Or shol be'al, now comes case number 2. Shol be'alel oisochon v'achar kach shol aporo. Let's say a person on Sunday borrowed the owner. He borrowed Mr. Rabinovich, or he hired Mr. Rabinovich for a few days. You be my painter or my cleaner from Sunday to Thursday as much as you can. And while Mr. Rabinovich was painting his house on Monday, he borrowed his cow with permission, of course, and pulled it into his domain of the shoyel. That is still the same thing, because by the time of borrowing the cow, the owner of the cow was hired to the borrower. The Mesa, he died on Monday after the Mashiach Potu. That is basically the issue of Ba'alav Imoy. Have you noticed that we only spoke here about She'ela, right? About borrowing the cow. We did not speak here about getting the cow as the Shomer Socho or the Shomer Chinam. We only spoke here about a Shoyel. So then he's Potu. The Gemara is now Medayek Vilu Shomer Chinam Loiktani. You see that the Mishnah conveniently omitted Shomer Chinam. The Mishnah did, when the Mishnah wants to tell me about Ba'alav Imoy, it's conveniently missing and omitting Shomer Chinam. So probably I am right, says the opinion that says that Shomer Chinam, there is no Ba'alav Imoy, and he's chayav in Ba'alav Imoy, and you don't have that special ptur for Shomer Chinam, which represents Pshia. Correct the Gemara, wait a second, wait. The Gemara is now answering back. According to you, Shomer Socher Miktani. The Shomer Socher is not written either. Yeah, there are 3. There are 4, right? Socher belongs to Shomer Socher, let's say. So we only spoke about Shoyel, and we omitted Shomer Socher and Shomer Chinam. Yeah, and Shomer Socher has what? Gneva Vaveda. And we all agreed that by Gneva Vaveda, there is a ptur of Ba'alav Imoy. So anyhow, something that doesn't work right. Why are you attacking me? It's a general question on the entire Mishnah. Why did the Mishnah spoke exclusively about Shoyel and omitted both Shomer Socher and Shomer Chinam? We're both in trouble. Shomer Socher for sure has Ba'alav Imoy. We all agree to that. Yeah. Therefore, we both have to come to a different explanation. Tana, our Brisa has an interesting style to it. Milsa dechsiva behedya ktani, the asya midosha lo ktani. Our Mishnah only talks about things that are mefurish in the Torah. I'll send you the chart afterwards. Yeah. Some of this balagan over here, of all these beautiful halachas, some is written mefurish in the Torah, and some is only learned midrasha. The fact that a shol is chai ba'insin, mefurish in the Torah. Shomer Socher chai b'gneva veda, mefurish. However, it's not mefurish in the Torah. There's Ba'alav Imoy b'gneva veda. It's not mefurish. No, we only learned from Va. And the shoyel is b'chlal not mefurish, that it has any gneva veda, not mefurish. These we only learn from Vav. That's the point. We only spoke about the shoyel be'oinsin because it's the only Ba'alav Imoy that's mentioned in the Torah. But it could very well be that here there is Ba'alav Imoy by Shomer Chinam, it's just not mentioned in the Torah. It's Mikra Nidrosh Lefolav Nifnei Panav. That's why. So could be our Mishnah just sticks to what's written in the Torah. Our Mishnah doesn't talk about droshes. There are such Mishnahs there. That's the style of this Mandoma, of this Tana, to only mention things before Shana Torah, and the rest he expects it to learn in Baisis and learn it Balpeh. So far, we don't have it reconciled. Toshma, come and listen to another Brisa. Shalo, that's a Brisa now, not a Mishnah. Says a Brisa. Another elaborate Brisa that elaborates on the concept of Ba'alav Imoy. Shalo, he borrowed the cow. The Shol Ba'alei Ima, he borrowed the cow and its owner together. Please come, and as I pull the cow, the person himself is also ready to go and work for me together. Socho v'socho Ba'alei Ima. Oh, he hired the cow and hired the person. So here we are talking about hiring. You saw the minefield over here? Here we're not only talking about Sheila, we're talking about a Soicher, which we assume is a Shomer Socho. And we are mentioning it. We are mentioning Shomer Sochor here because a renter rent a cow. Can I rent your cow for Ben Azmanim or your car? Is a Shomer Sochor. That's what the Mishnah paskened earlier on. Shalo v'socho b'ala ima. We're having mix and matches over here. Let's say shalo v'socho b'ala ima. I borrowed the cow for free and hired its owner for money, or the other way. Socho v'shol b'ala ima. I hired the cow for money. And I told the owner, can you do me a favor and help me manage with the cow, or help me with, I don't know, get me a cup of Coke, Here we're adding something else. Let's say I borrow my neighbor's drill, and my neighbor right now is in London, England. Let's say. And I borrow the drill. There's phone nowadays, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Can I borrow your drill? And your neighbor says, absolutely fine. And I'm borrowing it a Mosherit from his house, or his wife gives me, it's fine. And at the very same time, I know he's doing computer work for me in England. It's also called Ba'alav Imoy. Mokem Acher. It's, although the Malacha is different in style, in nature, and it's in Mokem Acher, the Mesa, eventually the cow died, or whatever died, under my, I am the Shoyel, and Chalila died by me. Potu, why is it Potu? It's also called Ba'alav Imoy. But one thing we see for sure, Savrua, we're building up a question now, and we know what the question is going to be. Savrua, the Bnei HaYeshiva thought when they learned the Brisa, Homani, who is it? Who's the author of this Brisa? Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda, the Omer Soicher Keshomer Sochor Dami. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who says that a Soicher has the status of a Shomer Sochor. Okay, and a Soicher is mentioned, right? There are two types of Shomerim here out of the four. Shoyel and a Soicher. And a Soicher really is just an example of Shomer Sochor, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Now we fall into a trap. This Tana, you can't tell me this Tana doesn't mention halachas that are not mefurish in the Torah. We only learn it from Rosh's Chazal. It's not true. He does mention Shomer Sochor / Soicher, although it's not mefurish in the Torah, right? And yet, the glaring difference, Vilu Shomer Chinam lo iktani. You see, Shomer Chinam is not mentioned. So you see, mamish an agenda over here. Nothing to do with whether it's mefurash or a drosha. And we see mefurash that Shomer Chinam is not mentioned. Only Shoel and Shomer Sochor. That is to say, you know when it's not mentioned? Because it's not true. Because probably a Shomer Chinam, like one of the opinions says, does not have the ptur of Ba'alav Imoy. And if there's Pshia, there's no Ba'alav Imoy. By Pshia, no such ptur. You're always going to be chayiv. And by the way, and from Shomer Chinam, we're going to reflect later on Shomer Sochor and Shoel. The no Pshia has the ptur of Ba'alav Imoy, and you always chayiv. So the Gemara, that's a question. You see, Shomer Chinam is not mentioned, so there is no Ba'alav Imoy but Shomer Chinam. Otherwise, why do we miss it? Why do we omit it? Answers the Gemara, no, not necessarily so. Omani Rabbi Meiri. Could be this Brisa follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir, which we saw before. The Oma. What does Rabbi Meir say? Soicher keshomer chinam dami. Very good. We didn't say shomer sochar. We mentioned soicher. Rabbi Meir says that a soicher has the status of shomer chinam. So which are the two shomerim out of the three that are mentioned in the Brisa? Shoyel and shomer chinam. Because the soicher is a shomer chinam. What about shomer socho? Avada, the tana shomer chinam, buadil shomer socho. When it comes to pshia, it's obviously all the same, right? If the shomer chinam has the ptur, and he has the makor for the pshia of shomer socher, so shomer socher toes along. Obviously, tags along. So the Maisa we mentioned, we basically gave you the two extremes and the sandwich in the middle. Shoyel has ba'olavimoy. Shomer chinam is mentioned here because soicher is a shomer chinam, the renter is a shomer chinam, and shomer socher joins the party. So that's one answer. Again, we don't know, but it's a possible answer. We don't have any proofs yet. Nothing was proven yet whether you do or you don't have ba'olavimoy by shomer chinam, and therefore by all other pshios. Or another, as we all know, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda in this sugya are always interchangeable. Rabbi Baravua switched the names of the opinions. The Tani, and he says, that's always the opinion that some people hold, and that is Rabbi Baravua, and others, they say that Rabbi Meir holds the Shomer Socher, Rabbi Yehuda holds Shomer Chinam, which means, says Rashi, if you prefer to explain the Brisa like Rabbi Yehuda, I'll give you Rabbi Yehuda. There's no difference really between two answers. The question is who said it. The answer is one answer. The answer is one answer, and that is we prefer saying that. We prefer saying what? The real is Shomer Chinam. Whoever spoke over here about Soicher meant Shomer Chinam and does tell me that Shomer Chinam has the Ptur of Ba'olav Imoy. Who is the one who said Shomer Chinam? Either Rabbi Meir. Says Rashi, if you're dafka more excited to tell me that Rabbi Yehuda is the author of the Brisa, I'll give you Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda will be the one who said what we want him to say, that it's Shomer Chinam, basically. Yeah. Shomer Chinam. Yeah, question time. Amar Rav Yimnuna. Rav Yimnuna is about to say something against what I told you all along. Don't worry. Rav Yimnuna has a different opinion to what we've seen all along. We're going to deal with the Rav Yimnuna, and I'll tell you a little secret. We're going to also reject Rav Yimnuna's opinion. Before we continue with Rav Yimnuna, you may want to know what's the halacha. What's the halacha regarding Pshia, the Ba'olav Imoy? Guys, this is Vernogel halacha, Tafshin Pei Gimel 2023. If you, that's not times the Beis Hamikdash kind of sugya. If you actually borrow something from your friend at the same time he did work for you, that can happen anytime, any day. That's not science fiction. You may be potter. Halacha is, and Tosfos explains why it's halacha, that you're potter. The ptur of the Olav Imoy applies to all four shomrim, including shomer chinam, including any pshia. Yeah. In other words, even if you're Pashea Gomor, you didn't do it on purpose, you neglected, you're spacing out, not looking after the item properly at all, yeah, even less than the Bailim would, and then you're still potter, I would Begadol sit it there. So you're potter if at the same time the Bailim did Melocha for you when you borrowed, at the time of borrowing or before, and the kids are, as the animal was borrowed to you, or the item, any item in the world, doesn't make a difference. Lent to you or given to you as a shomer socher or given to you as a shomer chinam, deposited by you, or lent to you, you are potter of ba'olav imoy even if you're pasher. That's halacha l'maisa. And Tosfos gives you two reasons. And Tosfos says because usually Rav Acha v'Ravina we go by the more lenient opinion. Who's lenient? We're lenient with the muchzak, and the muchzak is a shomer, and that's the rule. That's the rule. We always make by Rav Acha. Tosfos says Rav Acha v'Ravina. Okay, that's halacha. So Shulchan Aruch yesterday. Amar Rav Yimnuna. Comes Rav Yimnuna, and Rav Yimnuna is giving us details regarding Ba'olav Imoy, which seem to be different to everything we've learned before. Amar Rav Yimnuna. Le'olam uchayev, even if a person with Ba'olav Imoy, even if the person borrowed, the borrower borrowed, the shoyel was shoyel, borrowed with Ba'olav Imoy, the guy was doing work for him. In many cases, le'olam, many times there would still be chiyuv, and the ptur would not apply, unless, in other words, Rav Nuna is being very particular about when we apply ba'olav imoy. Listen to the two conditions. Which means, if you lend/borrow, if a cow was borrowed, yeah, the bailim was not lent to make you a cup of coffee or computer work. The Baalim lent himself or hired or whatever to do the work with the cow. The cow does the charisha, the plowing, He's a professional plower from Tajikistan. He knows how to plow with a cow, and he does it with the cow mamish, working with the item. Chamo, it's a donkey. Is mechame achara. He walks along with the donkey. A drill. You borrowed a drill. You also borrowed your neighbor to drill the hole. You don't know how to drill a hole, etc., etc. So that's condition number one. But if I borrow what? The cow to plow my field, and at the same time you're picking the oranges, that's already not the same thing. Then we don't have Ba'alav Imoy, and then the borrower, the shoyel, the soicha, will be chayav. Okay? Second condition, that's a limitation, really. The ad shubaylim mish'as she'ela ad sh'as shvurov mesa. Which means, as opposed to what the Mishnah basically said, the length of time, the period of time that you borrowed the good services of your nice owner of the cow or owner of the drill, he has to be working for you from the time of Sheila, which is the Mashiach, all the way until the Oinsin, until the disaster happened and the cow died or was damaged. Yeah, Sunday you borrowed, and Thursday the cow broke down, the cow was hijacked, on Thursday. Only if he works with you from Sunday all the way to Thursday, both occasions and everywhere in between. I don't mean 24 hours, but he's begadol, working for you all the time, from the time of borrowing all the way till the time of Shvuv Mesa of the end, the sad end of the story of the Ointin. Only then we have the ptur of Ba'alav Imoy. These are the two conditions of Rav Nuna, and we're going to challenge both. But before we challenge, let's try to understand why is Rav Nuna saying what he's saying. Alma, that is to say, Kasova, Rav Himnuna says something very logical. He believes the Olav Imoy Akula Mil Samashma. He learns the words Be'olav Imoy on the entire thing. Be'olav Imoy, he learns it in a very intense way. Be'olav Imoy means from, because by the way, the Torah talks about both, Yish'ol, the person borrows, the Torah tells us a story, right? You borrow, and then the Nishbar Omes, right? He broke or died, right? So he believes the Ba'alav Imoy relates to the entire Torah episode, so to speak, of borrowing, and then the breakage, then the death. It applies to all. And also he believes in a very strong way, Kula Milsa means he has to be mamish with the Bailim, Ba'alav Imoy, with the person and with the cow. He's involved in the work of the actual item, not lending you a drill while making you coffee in a different room or making computer work in England. No, only the same thing exactly. Okay, that is Rav Nuna. Now Rav Nuna's opinion is going to get a lot of slack, so to speak. Meisiv Rove. Rove is now challenging the opinion of Rav Nuna from a Braisa. Meisiv Rove. It says in the Braisa as follows. The Braisa says, as many Braisas, a very clear Reisha and Seifa. Meisiv Rove. Shala, we're towards the end of the narrow lines in Tzadi Hey Amud Beis Bava Metzia. Tzadi Amud Beis. Meisiv Rove. Shala, somebody borrowed a cow, let's say. V'shal be'oleo ima. He also borrowed the owner. Can you do me a favor and help me around here? Sachro v'sachro be'oleo ima. He hired the cow for money and hired the person for money. A taxi driver. You hired the taxi and him. Yeah, I think so. Sachro v'shol ba'ale'ima. We're mixing and matching. Sachro v'shol ba'ale'ah. He hired the cow and borrowed the owner for free, his services. Shalo v'sachro ba'ale'ima. Or he borrowed the cow and sachro ba'ale'ah. We want to show how it does make a difference. The money here doesn't, play any role as long as the borrowing with or without money happened together, ima, together. Even though the Baalim does the job for you, the borrower, in a different place, let's assume very far, I'm in Ramat Bet Shemesh and I borrowed the drill of my British neighbor, and I know at the same time he's doing work for me in England, some computer, financial work in England, then Umeisa, then the drill died or the cow died, Potu, so you see a different place. My love, that is the first wide line. My love must be b'melocha acheres. Well, if he's in a different place, he's not working with a cow. You were very, very mitzumtzam, Rav Nuna. What did you say? Only if the lender is working with the cow. Well, if it's a different place, How can he be doing the same job? Right? It cannot be. So must be from the brisa. It's wrong what you're saying. Answers Gemara, no. Be'oisa melocho. No, he's in a different place, but he's doing the same work as the cow does. How could that be? Ella, my mokem. How can he be in a different place and do the same work? Maybe nowadays, 2023, you can do it with Wi-Fi, you can do it with remote control. Yeah, but how can you do the exact same work but be in a different place? How could that be? How can you reconcile it, Ravim Nuna? Answers the Gemara, yeah, we're talking about plowing, nothing high tech. And the Gemara answer in the second line, the kamarpi, the ozil kamo, the cow. What does the cow do? What cows actually do in the field usually, they plow. Kishor leol chamo lemasa. Yeah, it has an oil, has a yoke, and it's plowing along. The person, which person? The owner of the cow who does melocha with the cow is not exactly in the same place. He's marpi, the ozil kamo. He's softening the ground, walking ahead of the cow. I don't know how far ahead. Let's say Dalad Amis, to make everyone happy. We all know Dalad Amis is a different place. I didn't see it in any of the Meforshim. I'm just trying to be Misaber Soiz. And let's say, yeah, there's a long plow. I walk ahead of the cow, not connected. I'm the owner of the cow, yeah? And I'm also the lender. I'm walking ahead of the cow. A good Dalad Amis said, 8 Amis said, definitely a different place. This is London, but it's a different place. But I'm doing the same job because I'm literally preparing the ground. I'm doing the first softening of the ground with my own hoe or something before the cow's coming. Yeah, I'm walking and the cow, Shmoyne Amis behind me. I'm in a different place, but I'm doing the same job. So basically, Rav Nuna so far survived the brisa. It's true what I'm saying, says Rav Nuna. It's only when the Mash'il did the same job with the cow. However, it could be in a different place. It's a chiddush, as we'll see later. But if he does a completely different job, yeah, the cow is plowing and he's picking, the cow is plowing and he's working in the office on the computer, then we don't apply Ba'olavim anymore. Okay, so far so good. Frag the Gemara, that's a Resha. Frag the Gemara, what about the Seifa? The Hamid, the Seifa, what does it say in the Seifa? The Seifa, Al Gaba. We didn't yet see the Seifa. We're quoting from the Seifa, and then we'll explain. But the Seifa, Al Gaba Havi, in the Seifa, we're going to see soon that the Seifa talks about a case where the owner is mamish standing with the cow, hands on. Havi Reisha the Melocha Acheres. Must be that the Reisha talks about a completely different Melocha. It's useless to try to explain what the Gemara just said now before we see the Seifa, and I promise you, then I'll explain the question. The Ktani. Let's first see the Seifa of the Brisa, and then we'll get the question. Bezel Hashem. The Ktani. It says in the Brisa, second part of the same Brisa that's challenging Rav Nuna, that said that the Bailim has to be mamish in the same Melocha exactly. Look what the Seifa says. It says the Seifa. Shalo, new case in the Seifa. The Seifa is the opposite of the Reisha, the mirror image of that. Shalo, the person borrowed a cow. Okay. Later on, 5 days later, 5 hours later, or 5 minutes later, or 1 minute later, there was clearly Mashiach of the cow. Done deal. And then you borrow the person. After the cow was borrowed, then you tell the guy, I'm not so good with plowing with cows. I don't remember last time I did it, actually, So then what? Can you come and help me? Oh, that's not the same time already, right? And you hired the cow. Later on, you hired the person, although it's with it. Oh, Hebrew want to maximize the chiddush the other way. Even though the Baalim is choirish tight with the cow, the Baalim is mamish standing with the cow, directing it, hitting it. He's mamish doing like you do, like you're working with your drill. He's working with the cow, the mesa, and then he died. Chayev. Then Chayev, the borrower, the shoyl is Chayev. Why? Because they didn't start at the same time, right? Only if they start together, or the Bailim started working before the cow. But if the cow was borrowed and the Bailim wasn't yet borrowed, then there's no Ba'olavim. That's always the rule. It's very easy. At the time of Sheilo, the Bailim was B'chlal not committed in any way, the Bailim of the cow, then there's nothing. Okay. So now let me explain the question. We assume that just like the Seifa maximized the Chiddush, gave me a maximum Chiddush of what? To tell me, I think actually, The Gemara is going to say, I'm going to say it now first, and then we'll see it to the Gemara. Well, before your questions, give me a second. Basically, the question is as follows. We assume that just like the Seifa wants to maximize the Chiddush and tell you, you know what? Even though it was very, very Ba'al of Imoy, the Baalim was mamish together with the cow, mamish tight, although that, because they didn't start working together, Mimela, we say there's no Ba'al of Imoy. Also the Reisha must also tell me the opposite Chiddush. The Reisha wants to maximize the Chiddush too. Because they started together at the same time, 1, 2, 3, they were born at the same time, even though the work was far apart and probably a whole different work, we probably want to maximize the Chiddush. Give me a second. We can't ask your questions. It's a very middle of the jungle here. Amri, we say, Reisha v'seifa ba'oisa melacha. Now he comes and he answers. Rav Imnuna comes to answer. Is it something quick? Or, yeah, we need to continue. Answers Rav Imnuna. No, Rav Imnuna is answering to the attack. Reisha v'seifa ba'oisa melacha. No, you're looking for a Chiddush? There is a Chiddush. Both Reisha and Seifa talk about a person who does the same type of job, right? The Reisha revusa kamashmalan, the Seifa revusa kamashmalan. You're looking for Chidushim? Says Rav Imnuna, I have Chidushim. I'll tell you, the Brisa was Mechadish a revusa. Revusa is a Chidush, you know that? Reisha came with a Chidush, and the Seifa came revusa. Revusa is a Chidush, yeah? What is it? Reisha revusa kamashmalan. The Reisha came to be Mechadish and tell me a novel idea. The afal gav, the lav al gabo, ela ba'oisa melocha. Yeah, although it's not al gaba, it's not mamish tight, hands on, but ba'oisa melocha. Kevan dehavu bailim b'shas she'ela potter, because the bailim were really b'shas she'ela. That's what matters. The seifa revusa kamash malan. The seifa is telling me a revusa, also a chiddush. The afal gav de al gaba, right? Even though it's al gaba, kevan de lo hayu bailim b'shas she'ela chayiv, right? Which means, according to Rav Himnuna, yeah, according to Rav Himnuna, we say like this: you're telling me we want to maximize the Chiddush and Reisha in the Seifa. Excuse me, that is the Chiddush. The Chiddush of the Reisha is that even though they're not located in the same place, right? Even though it's loyal gaba, ela be'oiso melocho, it's because they're doing the same job. Although the job is geographically done in different places, the cow is here and the owner of the cow is 10 meters ahead of it. That's the Chiddush. That is the Chiddush to tell me what? To tell me that this too is considered Be'ol of Imoy and considered Be'oisa Melocha. Right? As long as the nature of the work is the same. And the Seifa was Mechadish no. That even though he's tight, Mamish sitting on the cow, Mamish standing by the cow, it doesn't make a difference, doesn't help you because all we care about is the timeline where they borrowed together, or was the cow borrowed before the person, which is not. So now Rav Imnuna is surviving it. Thank you for waiting. Frag the Gemara, hi mai, what are you talking about? I don't accept it at all. Frag, we're again attacking Rav Imnuna. If you're going to give me a real chiddush, that the Reisha is talking about making a cup of tea in China while he is plowing his cow in Israel, that's a different melacha and different location. That's a chiddush. The Seifa boisa melacha, and the Seifa is talking about the same melacha exactly hands-on. Hainu revusa, that's a chiddush. Ella, but according to Rav Imnuna, according to you, at the end of the day, both Reisha and Seifa are at the end of after the chiddush was said, yeah, it's the same halacha. Because you tell me the what? That it's the same halacha, but 4 or 5 meters away. My revusa, what's the chiddush? It's the same halacha at the end of the day. In other words, let me explain something. The topic of the brisa over here is not how close-knit it has to be, right? The topic of the brisa is to show me that the only important thing by Ba'al of Imoy is what? Very good. Timeline. It's a race. Did they shot up together? Boom. Did they both start together? Or did the cow, the item before the Baalim, and then it's not? Now, Bishlama lefi as chachomim, there is a real chiddush. Why? The Reisha wants to show you an extreme case. It's a different place, different malacha altogether, very different. Oh, and yet it's called Ba'alav Imo. Wow. And the Sefer is telling me, no, even though it's very, very much the same halacha, very much imoy, so what? You missed the boat right from the start. Because if the cow was borrowed, yeah, and the person wasn't yet borrowed, so even though he worked very close, very imoy, b'malachta, who cares? But according to Rav Nuna, if you let the fog disappear, at the end of the day, according to Rav Nuna, if both Reisha and Seifa are talking be'oisa melacha, right? They're talking the same melacha. That's your whole word. You're telling me what's the chiddush? The chiddush is that even though it's a different location, 4, 5, 10 meters away, it's still called oisa melacha. Thank you. But at the end of the day, when we equalize everything, when the dust settles, both Reisha and Seifa are both talking oisa melacha, right? One of them is 4 meters away, which you don't care about. Thank you. And one of them is sitting on the couch. So what? You are the one who actually says that it doesn't make a difference, right? So Lamaisa, Reisha, and the Seifa both are really telling me what? Telling me the same thing. They're telling me that if Ba'alav Imoy, the same melacha, either here or there, it's the same melacha. Tenor, that's not a chiddush. That's the main question on Avim Nuna. Yes, you want to ask now? Now we're going to ask another question coming soon. Yeah? Continues the Gemara with another question about the second point. Remember, Rav Nuna made 2 points. Point number 1 was that the nature of work has to be the same work, even if it's a bit far away, the same melacha. Secondly, he said that the timeline, it's not enough that the shoyel and, that the mash'il and the item start together. They also have to, so to speak, finish together. When the cow dies, the cow, whatever happens, the shoyel has to use the services of the mash'il all the way till there, right? From man she'ela to sh'at shvuah v'meisa. On that too, we have a claim, we have a taina. The oid, Tanya, another brisa questioning that. Mimashma shene'emar, yeah, if you remember the psukim, the Torah speaks about positive and negative. It says, im be'olav imoy lo yeshalem. Okay, it says if the owner of the, let's say cow, the lender is with the borrower, whatever that means, yeah, then he doesn't have to pay. Okay, you don't have to be a big Goin, the Goin of Vilna, to understand that that's if X is X, then Y is Y. Any yodea when the, X minus. Oh no. Any yodea. Yeah, I saw once a joke. Excuse me for interrupting the own shiur. Like a slide, a picture, a photo of like a place I think in Africa, and they wrote, "We're not open because we're closed, or we're closed and therefore not open." And one of the, in other words, it's not the Torah. Automatically, I know that if the owner is not around, if the owner of the cow is out of the picture, of course the shola has to pay. And if so, joking aside, so why does the Torah mention it? The Torah says both ways. If the Baalim is with it, you're potter. The Baalim is not with it, you're chayiv. Why? Loimer loch, to tell. And by the way, it's not Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven, because it's the Torah talking, not people. Loimer loch comes and tells you, Hoya ima b'shas she'ela ain't tzorich liosima b'shas shvur v'meisa. Ah, that's the point. It's not like writing we're we're not open because we're closed. It's like writing we're open between 1 and 3 and closed between 4 and 6. That makes a lot of sense, right? That's a different story. Let me repeat. To tell you, Hoya ima b'shas she'ela, there is a middle case. Yeah, there is somewhere to play around. If the Baalim was with it only b'shat she'ela, but wasn't with him b'shat shvur v'meisa, then already there's a ptur. There is a point of him, yes, being there, and a point of him not being there. They're both true. They both play a role here, yeah? B'shat she'ela, the Baalim was borrowed when the animal was pulled into the borrower. He doesn't have to be, his ein be'olav imoy, he doesn't have to be with him b'shat shvur v'meisa, and already there's a ptur. And hoya ima b'shat shvur v'meisa, be'olav imoy, if the Baalim was with him b'shat shvur v'meisa, if the owner was working with the cow or even making a cup of tea, la'alocha, when the cow died, that does make a difference. If he started 5 minutes later when originally was borrowed 5 days ago, that doesn't help. Very good. In other words, there's be'olav imoy, there's en be'olav imoy. One nikuda yes, the other nikuda no. Mefurish against Rav Nuna. Betanya idach, another brisa that says an extremely similar thing, but starting from the other direction. Mimashma shenemar be'olav ein ima shalom mishalem. If I, it's the same thing, but starting the other posuk. Since it says the bailim is not with him, he has to pay. Ein yodashim be'olav imoy lo yishalem. Don't automatically know that the bailim is with him, meaning the owner of the item is together working for the shoyel. He doesn't have to pay. El matam l'dlomer im be'olav imoy. So why does the Torah have to be redundant, ki'ilu, and repeated? Lomer loch to tell you, as we said, kevan sheyotzem l'shus mashil sho achas be'bailim v'mesa potu. Once, even for 1 hour, 1 minute, if at the very beginning of the she'ela, 1, 2, 3, together, the bailim and the ka were lent together, race, and after half a minute, the bailim stopped giving me the cup of water. How long does it take to give him a cup of water? Yeah, I'm borrowing his ka for the whole of Ben Azmanim, 3 weeks. Yeah, and he, at the same time, when it did Mashiach, yeah, he gave me a cup of water, hosting me. Done, he's fried. Then he's potter for 3 weeks. Yeah, that's it. There's bowl of imo all the way through. It goes by the time you press the button. So you see that you don't have to have bowl of imo b'shash v'ra mesa crescendo. Tiyufta da vimnuna, tiyufta, boom, boom, boom. Rav Imnuna really remains in a tiyufta. Rav Imnuna's opinion was rejected, and therefore halacha is not like him. What's the halacha? The halacha is that, again, let's summarize. So what's bowl of imo? Very easy. First of all, bowl of imo, as long as the bailim was working in any shape or form, for who? For the borrower or the shomer chinam or the shomer socho. At the time of borrowing, the person was doing a malacha either started at the same time or the bailim started before, right? Because as the animal is being lent, he's already hard at work, yeah, the bailim. In those cases, gamarnu. That's bowl of imo, regardless to what happened later on when the animal died. Secondly, as I said, and I'll stress again, the nature of the job, absolutely. By the way, the example of cup of water is the example brought by the Shulchan Aruch. Maybe later in the Gemara, I don't know. I thought in Shulchan Aruch yesterday, absolutely irrelevant. Yeah, I'm borrowing someone's drill, I'm borrowing someone's computer, someone's cow, someone's cat, I don't know. Yeah, borrowing whatever. And he's giving a cup of water at the same time. I'm pulling the animal, giving a cup of water. Ma kesho? No kesho. Zeres HaKosuv, that's called bowl of imo, unlike what Rav Imnuna said. We'll stop here, and I'll be very happy to share the next few minutes with you. You were asking me about dayoy. So I'll just say what I remember from Bava Chafei Amud Aleph. I didn't review it so much, but dayoy, the concept of dayoy is as follows. You have a specific question, and I'll just... Dayoy means as follows. When you learn a kal v'chomer, yeah, you learn a kal v'chomer. For example, I learn a kal v'chomer from shomer chinam to shomer socho. The source of the machlokes, by the way, if you really want to know the source, is a case in Bava Kama about whether a keren tama, a short tam, would have to pay nezek sholem. Yeah, because we say over there in Reshus Harabim, remember Bava Kama, a bit of chazor, shen v'regel are more kal. You don't have to pay in Reshus Harabim for shen v'regel, and for keren you do, right? So now, b'chotzar nizak, let's say my animal came to chotzar nizak and it trampled and messed up or ate the stuff, right? Shen v'regel, I'm chayev. So maybe short tam, b'rshus hayochid, will have to pay nezek sholem. Yeah, says to the commentator of Tarfa, no, that's dayoy. Dayoy means if the original source of the limud, the kal, is limited, only chetzi, right? Then it cannot become an ezek sholem. You can't have, I may have mixed up the Mishnah, by the way, but I don't remember 1,000,000%, but the concept is, you have kal v'chomer. Let's say, let's give a Belbatish example. 1 second. Yeah, let's say you collect money for the Mesiba, we're going to do a Siyum of Metzia. One guy is a pauper, one of them is a millionaire. We say, from the pauper, I charged $100, and from the rich one, also 100. He from the pauper 100, from the Oshir, I didn't get a tzivui to get to collect from him. But if somebody told me, get from the rabbi told me, get from the poor guy $100. From the rich guy, he didn't tell me. So maybe $200? No. Here we say dayoy, yeah? Although I don't know anything about the rich guy, we say if the poor gives 100, the rich will also give 100. But we don't work exponentially. Dayoy means non-exponentially. Yeah, it's I don't know the other word, linear. It's not exponential. In other words, we still remain with this. The logic means that the same would apply to the bigger one, but the same number, same amount. And we'll learn from Miriam and Avia. With Miriam, what did we say? Had her father, had she, be punished by her father, she would have been what? In isolation for 7 days. Now she spoke against Kivyachol, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Rabbeinu, higher things. So maybe she'll get 14. No, she gets 7, not 14, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is twice as much as a parent. Aviv Imoy, Tosfos says over there. Yeah. Dayoy means, although it's greater, the numbers stay the same. That's Dayoy. We're limited by numbers. That's Tanakam. Rabbi Tarfon argues. Rabbi Tarfon has all different shot over there in Miriam, which I don't remember, to be honest. And where Rabbi Tarfon says, no, we don't work with Dayoy. And therefore, yes, it's exponential. If the poor guy is 100, the rich guy, I'm going to make the cheshbon, charge 200. That's non-Dayoy. Halacha is we do say Dayoy. Yeah, we learn from Kal V'chomer, but we remain with the same numbers. That's Bigadol, what we're saying, and that affected the sugya yesterday. Okay. Thank you very much. Tzlochu Rabba, good Shabbos. We'll be back here on Sunday with more Gemara Bezos Hashem. Enjoy and have a good Shabbos. Thank you to everyone on Torah Anytime, Kol Aloshan, and YouTube. Thank you. Hatzlacha, and see you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.